Welcome back, everybody. This is lesson 3, the metal component, part 2. In this part of the tutorial, we are going to draw in the dimension lines, as you can see here, and we're going to also add line types. So we have 3 types of line. We have the white object line, we have the blue construction line and dimension lines, and we have the red center lines. So in this tutorial, we will be doing this, all right? So open up your previous files. Mine's right here. This is what your file should look like from last time. And so the first step we're going to do is we're going to add a linear dimension. Okay. So for that, we go to at the top, the toolbar, it says dimension. Then we're going to go to linear. And we are going to click on this line and this line. And we're going to drag it out to the left. And I think we're going to drag it about whatever we want it to look like we want it to look like our handout exactly, so I'm going to put it right there. Alright, so we added a linear dimension. Now I'm going to add a radial dimension. Let's add one radial dimension. So go to dimension radius right here. And I'm going to add a dimension for this radius, like so. And also I'm going to add a dimension for our angle, 40-degree angle. And I'm going to click on this line and this line. And the angular dimension should appear. Okay. So we have 3 types of dimensions right now. We got an angle on this side, we have a radial, and we have a linear. Let's also do circumference. So let's go to do dimension. Well, not circumference, I'm sorry, diameter. So we're going to do dimension, go down to diameter, and this circle up here is specified by its diameter. So I'm going to put the little dimension line up there. All right. So I'm comparing what we've done so far with the original, and I'm noticing a few things that are different. Okay, number 1, the text is too big, so we need to make the text smaller. And another thing is our arrowheads are too big, so we need to make our arrowheads smaller. And also the gap from the end of our drawing to the extension line of our dimension is too small, so I want to make that gap bigger. So let's change those 3 things, okay? So in order to change the dimension style, we're going to go to Format and go to Dimension Style. All right. Under Dimension Style, we're going to go to Arrows, and we're going to change the size of the arrow to be 0.12. Next, we are going to go to Line, and then Extension Line Settings. And we're going to scroll down, and for Offset, we're going to change that to 0.1. I think we need to hit Applied. Okay. So that's applied. So after you change the number, hit Apply, which is down here. So our offset is 0.1, that's good. And next we're going to do our text. So go to Text, Text Settings, and for the height we're going to do 0.1, 0.1. Apply. Alright, let's see what that looks like. So hit OK. and everything shrinks down. So that looks about right. Right, so our gap got a little bigger, and yeah, there we go. I think our offset can be a little bigger, but you know what, that's okay. All right, so let's continue going forward. One thing we can do at this point now is set up our different line types. So right now we are going to set up our different line types. You could just go around and add dimensions and keep on adding dimensions, but I want to see, I don't know, I like to differentiate between all the lines before I get lost in all the dimensions. So in order to set up line types, we're going to go to Format, Layer, and it opens the Layer Managers window. Okay. So every drawing has many layers, and we're going to create some new layers. By default, everything is on the 0 layer, and it's just a white layer. And I'm just going to leave I'm going to keep that layer, and I'm going to actually leave the object lines, which are the lines that represent the geometry of our object, on layer 0. So let's make 2 more layers. Let's add, so click New, and we're going to make a, let's call it a construction line layer. So it's called construction line, and I'm going to make it blue. So double click on it, and I'm going to hit blue. So on this blue layer, I'm going to put construction lines, and I'm going to also put my dimension lines. Because if you look at the original drawing on the handout I gave you, they both have a very light graphic representation. So to me, they're on the same layer. All right, we're going to add another layer, and we're going to call this one Center for the center line. And for the color, we're going to do red. And for the line style, we're going to change the line style. Right now it says continuous line, but we don't want a continuous line. We want kind of a dash, long dash, small dash pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this one and go to Other. And right now the only line that's loaded is continuous. I'm going to hit Load. And I'm going to load this center dash. Hit OK. And hit OK. And the last thing we need to do is change our line style to center. Okay? And hit OK. So now how do we sort these lines onto those layers? Well, we need to open our Properties window palette. So go to Window, Palettes, Properties. Right? So everything in our drawing has a property, has properties that we can change. So let's make, how about we, for example, these lines here are going to be on our center line layer. So you select the lines that you want to change the layer of, and then you go to this symbol, the layer symbol, and you say, I'm going to put it on the center layer. Click center, and there you go. Okay. So one thing I'm noticing right away is that the dash, long dash, short dash pattern is way, way too big for a drawing. If you look at the handout I gave you, the first dash doesn't even like go out of this circle. So we need to make this a lot smaller. So we need to set the scale of the dash. Let's go back to Format, Layer, And we're going to go and under line style, we're going to go other. And let's click on the center line here. And at the bottom it says global scale. We're going to type 0.5. So that should shrink it down. We're going to decrease the spaces by 0.5. Hit OK and OK. So there you go. You see that the dashed lines have shrank down a lot. Now we actually can tell it's a center line. I'm actually realizing I'm missing a center line that goes down the center here, so I'm going to quickly draw that in using a circle tool. Okay, now I need to trim it. So I'm going to just draw. So I'm looking at my original drawing, and we have this arc that goes from about here all the way down to about out here. So I created the circle, and then I created these two lines to help me trim the circle. Okay, so I did that, and I'm going to delete these two guys. Now I'm going to change this line onto the center layer, so I select it, I go to my properties panel, and I go to the layer section and I go to center. So that's what it looks like so far. So we're looking pretty good right now. Let's move all of the construction lines and dimension lines on the blue layer. So I'm going to select all the dimension lines. I'm going to select all of our construction lines and center points. There's actually a white line under this red line, so I'm going to blue select that guy. And I'm going to select this point here. Alright, so after I've selected everything, go to the Properties panel, under Layers, select Construction Line. Alright, so it should turn blue. This is bugging me. I'm going to copy this point, copy the center point of this circle here too. So now we have a center point there. Okay. Alright, so now I think all we have to do left in this tutorial is finish adding dimensions. So look out for when you're dimensioning a radius and when you're dimensioning a diameter. Diameter and radius are two different things. Okay, so let's measure the diameter of this circle. In terms of the placement of your dimensions, oh, hold on. So I just did a dimension, but it's on the white layer. So I'm going to hit escape and restart. And before I start a command, I'm just going to go to the properties panel, and I'm going to select construction line. So now whatever I do going forward, it's going to go on the blue layer, which is what I want. So I'm going to start the diameter command again, and I'm looking at the original handout, and this diameter line is kind of placed here. Where are the other diameters? This one is a diameter here. Oops. Dimension, diameter. Kind of like here. Hit enter to restart your diameter command. All right, at this point, all we're doing is adding the rest of the dimensions exactly how it's shown. So you can go ahead and work independently. I'm just going to continue dimensioning, but I think at this point you are able to work independently by yourself. All right, or you can watch what I'm doing, and maybe that will help you. All right, so one thing I need to do is, now I'm going to do a bunch of radiuses. Radii. So radius, I'm going to do this guy. Oh, I wanted to add another thing. Another thing I'm noticing is that here I have 4 decimal points. I have 4 numbers after the decimal point, and on my handout there's only 3. So in order to change that, we need to go to Format, or we need to go to Dimension, Format, Dimension Style, and then you go to Linear Dimension, and for precision, select the 3 decimal points one. Okay. So now everything went down to 3 decimal points. So that's what we want. All right, I'm going to continue dimensioning here. Okay, right here, this radius, if I bring it out too far, it like draws an extension line. And I don't really want to do that, so I'm just going to kind of pull it down here and it draws it correctly. So this one's not as long as the one on my paper, but that's okay. Also do this dimension. So this dimension says 2 times R.438. I would, let's see. What I would do is I would just get a text box, which is located under Draw, this one, this text note, and I'm going to put a note after it. I'm going to say times 2, and I'm going to make my letter 0.1 tall. And now I'm going to move the times 2 until it's after. So it means I have 2 radii that are 0.43. Alright. So this is also times 2. I'm going to copy this. Times 2. There's also times 2 here. There's also a times 2 here. Okay. Let's keep on adding radius dimensions. Radius, outer one. Okay. Now I'm going to, oh, this one has a time 2 on it. I'm going to finish up my linear dimensions. I'm going to do dimension, linear dimension, and I'm going to measure 1 inch from here to here. Also going to measure, hit enter to restart the command, and go from here all the way to this center point. And if you accidentally put your dimension in a weird place, you can always click on it and grab the center, the point in the middle of the line, and move it. So I'm going to move it like there so I have enough space for my next dimension, which is from here. So I'm clicking and snapping onto my construction points, my construction lines. All right, so do I have anything more? Yes, I have this vertical one. Now I need this 0.751. Dimension linear. Alright, so that wraps it up for this tutorial. I'll see you in the next tutorial, which is lesson 3, part 3, where we place this on a piece of paper, add a title block, and print it out. Alright, see you on the next one.